Welcome to Embracing Life Again. I'm Catherine Coffer, transition expert and minister. Together, we'll break through life's toughest barriers, rediscover joy, and start dreaming again. It's time to embrace life fully with purpose, passion, and hope. Welcome to Embracing Life Again. I'm Catherine Coffer, your host, and together I try and give you inspiration through life's transitions and helping you start living again. So today I wanted to answer some questions that people have asked me, and today it's about managing relationships and support, right? So the first question is, when you've lost somebody or lost a job or any type of loss that you can think of, it could even be divorce. The question I'm being asked is, did you find it hard to talk to people who hadn't experienced the same loss? So that being said, I'm going to say yes. In my loss of my husband, and actually, I got remarried and now I'm divorced. So that loss also, people that haven't been through it aren't sure what to say to you, not sure if they should talk to you, right? Or really say some silly things that you're just going, what? What are you talking about? I mean, I can laugh about it now because people are just people, right? And so in my experience after losing my husband, you already know I'm a realtor by trade. So in 2015, I noticed that a lot of my clients didn't talk to me. And even though I would call them to check in on them or whatever, they never returned my phone call. They didn't know what to do with me. And then that being said, you know, the real estate business can be pretty sharky. And so I did find that some realtors that are not really good people in my town at that time, they poached my clients. So, for instance, if my client goes in, it's a buyer of mine, goes into an open house, and the person there doing the open house, my client goes, yeah, my realtor's Catherine Coffer. And, oh, you heard about what happened, right? You know, to my client. And they're like, yeah, we did. And they're like, well, you know what? She's grieving right now. You really don't want to bother her, but I'm more than happy to help you. Right? That happened more times than not, let me tell you. I was so, it really upset me. And then I didn't care. I mean, I was in a space where I'm like, you know, once you lose somebody, you kind of get to the point where you are like, life's too short. At least that's the attitude I possessed after I was done grieving, that life is so short. You don't have time to be mad at people. You don't have time to hold grudges, right? You just move forward. You just keep moving forward, one foot in front of the other. The other thing I had to do was when people did talk to me, people like, well, are you better today? And I'm like, a better question to ask me is, you know what? Are you having a good day? A lot of times people don't know what to say, so they say the silliest things to where we can take that to heart and just go, you know, but what I learned to do and what people thanked me for was teach them how to ask you how you are. And it may be different for you than it is for me. So, and what I mean by that is, like, I had to teach my family how to ask me, right? How are you doing today, right? But they didn't ask me that way because I'm like, don't ask me that. Just say, are you having a good day today? Or is there anything I can help you with today? People, just like in anything, you have to teach them how to treat you, right? And I know you may be grieving and you don't know what that is, but you kind of do. I mean, you don't like what they're saying now, so maybe think about what would you like them to say. And the other thing is, did I ask for help? Okay, so the codependent part of me that used to be, um, I'm the giver. I'm the one that serves. I'm the one that does everything, right? And so it was hard for me to ask. And I'm like, oh, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. But you know what? you, you need help. People need support. People need to know they're loved. And you have to think of things that you want. I knew I could cook for myself and I could do things for my girls and everything like that. But it was sure nice to have someone come over and help with what I needed, right? So I would ask them. I wouldn't call them and ask them. That's hard to do. That is really hard to call people and tell them what you need because oftentimes when you're grieving, you don't know what you need at the time, right? You're just trying to get out of bed. You're just trying to brush your hair, go to the refrigerator and maybe eat if you're even hungry, right? So people watching this who have someone in their life that has lost someone, think about maybe what you would like if this happened to you, and then do that to the person that you know that you want to help, but you don't know how, and they're not telling you how. Right? So that is so important, right? And then the next question is, did you have to let go of any relationships and or build new ones? Yes and yes. Things change, right? So I found that my husband's friends, they were so helpful. They'd help me around the house. They would do things right for me of what I needed outside and everything like that. But I remained friends with the wives and not the husbands after a while. So I kind of had to let go of wanting them to be, my support because they were struggling themselves. Even family struggling. And I found out that I was really good with George at the time. We were doing really well. And people that have regret, the people that survive the person that they lost, that have any regrets, have the hardest time grieving, especially if it's a sudden death, as George was, right? A lot of people didn't get to talk to him about anything they were thinking about, and so it was in their heart, and they're like, now I can't tell him. I don't know what to do with that. And so they, even after a year, were still struggling, and they had a hard time talking to me. And I would tell them, I'd say, you know what? He's right here. He's right here. He's just in a different realm. So don't think that you cannot talk to the person that you lost, because you can. They are around, right? They're in a different realm, but I think they become your, what do I want to call it? They become your, like, guardians, right? I think they petition to you in heaven. I think they help you. There's so many times things should have happened to me, and it's like they didn't happen to me. So I'm just kind of wondering, did he intervene, or was that my angels intervening? So a lot of things happen with that, and so I tell people, like sometimes, like when I was having trouble with my girls, even though they were in college, I'm like, George, you need to talk to them. They need to see you. They need to know you're here. They need to know you're thinking about them, you love them, or whatever it is. Or I just wanted to smack, like slap my girls, right? Because of something they were doing that was like, stop it. But I couldn't get through to them. But I know Daddy could, right? So then I would say, hey, go talk to your girls. I think that helped me with my grieving a lot. And I know it's helped other people that have had regret with him and wanted to apologize. I said, just go in your closet and just talk it out. I mean, talk like he's there and talk about whatever situation that was there that you guys had a misunderstanding with or a falling out with, right? So oh boy. So building new ones. Now that's interesting. And you will build new ones as you start moving forward. The new relationships should be something that you are interested in and love for yourself. So part of the grieving process is surrendering and letting go of the person that you lost. Then the next part is finding who you are. And who am I without you? And that will be another thing that I'll discuss, but I was going to discuss it, right? And I'm like, not yet. I have to think about it a little bit more as to what processes I did to find out who I was without my husband, since I had been married almost 29 years and had known him since I was 16 years old. So you start with, what do I like? Right? So I enjoy walking. I enjoy being with at that time I had a big horse and I had Zebedee. And I love doing dance. And so I had to find those things again that gave me peace, that gave me a reason to go outside. I'm not a shopper. Never have been a shopper. Most guys like that, but I am not a shopper. I don't just shop to shop. I shop because I need it, and that's it. Otherwise, I'm outside. I'm hiking. I'm walking. I'm biking. I'm very active. So that's what I did. I found groups that like to do what I like to do. So there's many different places where you can find that. And that's where you meet your new friends. And also, I met new friends at church, right? So when you're a couple, you have certain friends. And then when you're not a couple, you have another set of friends. So you'll still be, you still might be friends with the people that you've been friends with for a long time. Like I said, I kept the wives of our couples, and I'm still very friendly, and I do, I'll do things with them as a couple, but I'm more likely do things one-on-one with my friend who is married, right? So it just depends on you and what you're thinking and what's comfortable for you. It may not be comfortable for you to watch them together anymore, right? I was okay with that. But Some of the men weren't because they didn't know what to say, right? They didn't know what to do. So I just kind of exited my way out with regards to making it a couple, like a threesome thing, right? Where I'm the third wheel. And it's just the wife and I talking the whole time anyway. So I cut that and just do things with the wives now. So that is the wrap up of those questions. And then the next one was, what practical day-to-day advice do I have? Right? So one of the questions is, what small things helped you feel better? So when I was going through my grief, and even now, I think about my self-care, which in the previous episode with Sun 2, if you haven't seen that, that's episode 3 and 4. And so it just helps you know about your self-care. So I had to learn to take care of me again. So every day I would just do one thing. And if it was just brushing my hair, if it was just going outside and enjoying the weather, even if it's cold, I wanted to ground myself with nature to find some sense of peace, some sense of serenity. And if you can't go outside for some reason, maybe put on music that just makes you peaceful. So I listen to music all the time because I love music and I love dancing. So that's what I would do. So when I got, a little bit better, when I had a good day, I'll call it that, I would turn on music and I would just let the music take me somewhere. Just get out of my head, get out of whatever I needed that day. So if I was struggling with coupling, right? So one thing I noticed from being a widow or being divorced, you miss the coupling. And the coupling is having someone there to talk to, having someone there to cuddle with, having someone there to just hold. I miss that greatly. And so a lot of times I would go into I'd make myself dream of somewhere else I wanted to be or something else I wanted to be, right? Which it's a distraction. It's definitely a distraction. And there's always a kind of a place for a distraction, but when you do it too much, it stops you from living your life. And at one point, I had done that too much because I couldn't cope with being alone because I didn't know how to be alone. I had never been alone. I graduated from college and I got married, right? So it's like, uh-oh, I have to figure out loving myself and being alone and what does that look like? So every day I would just examine my thoughts. I would ask myself, what do you want to do today? What will make you smile today? Right? And then at the end of the night, reassess. Well, I like that, but I didn't like that. Journaling is a really good idea. I wish I had. I do not care to journal. I'm not a real journal person, but I wish I had because it would have made it a lot easier for me to go back and tell you these things that I did, right? So that would have been way easier than going back in my memory banks and saying what I did. um, so that's that for that. And then how did I navigate milestones, anniversaries, with and without, right? So we all have things we do every, birthday, Christmas, Easter, even 4th of July. I'm a 4th of July baby, so I'm a firecracker, right? So I always have to have fireworks on my birthday. That never stopped. I still do. I still do that. However, the first Christmas without my husband was the hardest one. It's because I had to learn again. I wanted to do some traditional things that we would do, but then I wanted to create new ones that I have wanted to see. So what we did was the girls and we decided together, what do you want? So what I did is I bought George a little tree and I put all his ornaments on that tree to represent him and in the family room. And it was so cute. And then I had the big tree and we decorated it the way the girls wanted to decorate it. And then we still had, a similar dinner, right? And we would still do one gift on Christmas Eve and then the rest of the gifts on Christmas. We had people over the first Christmas because we didn't want to be alone. So what would happen in our house is 1 year it would be at the Coffers, 1 year it would be at my family's, and my maiden name is Mancini. So we would flip flop to where now it was at my house, and now 9 years later we go. We usually still have it at my house, actually, but because I have the bigger house, and so. And my parents are getting older, right? So I would rather treat them than have them, have to work for me. And so the other milestones would be your spouse's birthday or your child's birthday, right? Or your parents' birthday. So you can set things that you would want to see, and it may not be the same, but you're still honoring them. So those would be the little things that you can do on anniversary dates without the person that you lost. And then one of the biggest things that God taught me while I was grieving was when you're negative, when you're grieving, right? You always hear, I'll never have this, I'll never do this, we were going to do this, but now it'll never happen. And you're pretty negative, right? Or we are, right? When we grieve. No matter what we're grieving about, it's usually negative because we haven't learned how to grieve well as a nation, right? So what God told me was, he stopped me one day as I'm grumbling. He goes, I am tired of hearing what you don't want. I want to know what you want, and I want you to thank me for what you had with George, right? Or the job I had lost, or whatever it is that you lost, he wants you to thank him for it. So a good, for instance, with that is, let's say I'm thinking about, man, he's going to retire in the next 5 years and we were going to travel and we had all this cool stuff planned because the girls would be out of college and just so much stuff was going to happen. We had a lot of dreams, right, that we wanted to see happen. And so as I'm thinking about those things and going to go negative, I stop and I go, God, I thank you for the trips to Hawaii that we had with the girls. I thank you for the trips we had wherever it was that we were. We traveled all over with the girls, right? And So we were going to actually travel the world. And I don't know that I want to do that now. It's not because he's gone. It's just not my desire as much anymore. So I'm sure I'll get to other places. My daughter took me to Spain, and we did the Camino de Santiago Trail, which is a pilgrimage. And boy, is that changing your state, your being. It's just magical. And it is, so I will have my daughter on. When I'm going to be talking to you about Who Am I Without You, I will have my oldest daughter on with me, because she will talk about her perspective of losing a dad, and I will talk about my perspective of losing a husband, and we will ask each other questions, so you kind of get a view of how we got through the grief and what we did. So I was talking about I just got distracted. I'm so sorry. Okay, so one thing about me is I'm not a wordsmith, right? And sometimes my ADD, I'm like, I'm on one thing and then I go to another one and then I come back. So I will come back. So it was talking about anniversaries. So, but I was also talking about being thankful. And so a lot of people that I have counseled that say that's huge. They're like, I never thought of it like that, to thank him for what I had when I'm thinking negative. So it can be even a special birthday that you had with the person you lost, right? So you thank God for that. And then you can go on and say, I would like more times like that, and learn to know how to be alone for the time being, because you don't know, someone's going to come in their life. I had a gal that called me. She goes, I don't know how to get over this. I don't. I said, you never do get over it. You get through it. Everybody's thinking, if I grieve, I'm going to forget them. Nope. I'm sorry. You never forget them, because they're in here and they're in here, right? You have memories, you have thoughts, you have so many things that they're still part of you. They're still part of your being. You're not going to get rid of them. You're not going to forget them. So I had told her about you know what, when you're going negative and you want to think about something good that you had with your husband. She had lost her husband, who was her so-and-so called soulmate, and I'll never love again. I'll never do this. And I said, I want you to try this exercise. And every time you say that, I want you to thank God for what you had. Well, a year later, she has met another man of her life that she is completely in love with too. So God does have good things in store for us. We just have to make a step forward, right? So we have to act, and then we have to receive. And that's the hardest thing. That's the hardest thing for me, is to receive. I've had to learn to receive, right? That I completely give love, and that I completely accept and receive love. I was really good at giving love. I was horrible at receiving love. And part of that was, at that time, my self-worth issues that I had. And so it's another thing we'll talk about later in another episode. I have lots of episodes. So I just want to encourage you today that you are so loved and wanted and needed. So don't be afraid to keep taking one step in front of the other and getting through the grief, so you can find your joy again, so you can dream again and then just have and make the life that you want. You can do it. I know you can. So now I would like to bring on Zebby and Theo for the adventures of Zebby and Theo. So stay tuned. I'll be right back.
Coming up next, Adventures with Theo and Zebby, right here on Embracing Life Again with Catherine Koffer.
So I'm surprising Zebby. It just rained and he's eating. So there he is. Hey Zeb, are you gonna come here? Anyway, he has his blanket on because it's under 50 degrees and I have to keep his coat a certain way. And so usually he neighs at me, but he's like, I'm eating, Mom. Hi, sweetheart. So today is training day. We're going to be training. So every week I bring his trainer out and we work on different things for him. Today we're probably going to be doing carting, right? So I'm trying to teach him to cart. So he'll be in a harness and he's learning to move in rain. We don't have the cart on him yet, but so I will show you the training involved in that. See you soon. Okay, so it looks like Zebby is getting hooked up and we're gonna practice long reining him today. See different pressures, see what he likes better than others for the training. So we're gonna lunge Zebby to get him warmed up before we put the surcingle on him. And I'm trying to be still so you guys can really see what's happening. And that's my trainer, Amanda. So we train every Thursday if we can, if I'm not traveling. So he's so well trained, let me tell you. But I've spent hours and hours and hours on this little dude. So I just wanted you to show you what lunging looks like. And all it is getting him warmed up in a circle, and then she'll turn him around to go the other way. And then I'll put the reins on him and we'll show you what long reining looks like, getting him ready to pull a cart. Amanda, what are you doing with him right now?
So this is long reining, and I'm able to teach him how to be sensitive to reins. Obviously we can't ride him, so this is the next best thing. Trying to keep him nice and straight without any arguments. I'm in a position where he can see me, so he's more relaxed instead of being behind him like I would in a cart.
So she just got him to change direction, and he did it perfectly. So you're still on his side, right?
Yep.
Okay.
He can see me clearly on that side.
And then eventually you'll be right behind him and then he'll steer that way?
Yep.
Okay.
Good boy.
So she's moving him again, making him go straight. So like I said before, this is getting him ready to cart. He has never pulled a cart yet. but we want him just really comfortable and knowing what we want him to do before he starts pulling anything, because we don't want him hurting himself or anybody else. He's just such a calm kid. I love this kid. He's just such a good boy. You've taken the first step to embracing life again. Let's continue to break barriers, find joy, and dream without limits. Join us next time, and let's discover inspiration through every transition together.